Colorectal cancer is one of the few cancers that's preventable. I do a whole sermon on it with the patients. And what we've found, even in the 21st century, most persons are still unaware that it's preventable. Well, how is it preventable? When we do our pap smears, it's not to pick up cancers. It's actually to pick up pre-malignant changes that we can actually treat and essentially prevent cervical cancer. Also, we now know what causes cervical cancer. Right. It's secondary to the human papillomavirus, so we actually screen for it at Royal Medical. So if you've never had your HPV done, you can come to Royal Medical in the same pap smear, right? And we screen for the high-risk HPV. Right. Also, we have the HPV vaccine. We know what causes it, and we have the vaccine. Right? And I know the listeners have a lot of other questions. I see you've given us some questions that the listeners, have. So apart from the pap smear, fibroid is very, very common, especially in the Caribbean. 7 out of 10 women have fibroids. It's not cancerous, but 1% chance it can actually have a cancerous change. Very, very rare. But fibroids cause other issues. All right, so the listeners probably wondering what is a fibroid. In some countries, they know it as myomas. Like in the Philippines, most people know it as myomas, or in the Spanish-speaking countries, myomas. All right, so they are benign growth. They tend to be benign growths, right? And the issue with the fibroids is usually the bleeding. That's what most people present for. They have heavy periods or they have painful periods. We call it dysmenorrhea. Also, some persons may come in for fertility issues. So fibroids directly don't affect fertility, but depending on where they are, they can affect. They can predispose to you having early miscarriages. Because we have different types of fibroids.
So a pap smear would pick up all of those?
Oh, okay, no.
No.
Right, so a lot of patients think the pap smear will pick up the fibroids. No. But if you come in for a pap smear, we do a pelvic exam. And the pelvic exam would pick it up. And you have different types of fibroids. You have some fibroids that actually what we call prolapse. So they're actually protruding into the vagina. We can see that just at speculum examination. That means when we examine the vagina. But once we do your pelvic exam, we can feel the uterus and we can see that it's enlarged. Right? And the great thing at Royal Medical is that when you come to see the gynecologist, you get an ultrasound. So you don't have to wait a day or 2 days for the ultrasound. We do the ultrasound right there. So you can have the answer right there. That's what we want for the patients, and you can see what's happening to you, right? It's very important the patient understands. We are trying to go away from the stage where the patients were just completely unaware as to what was happening. We were just taking medication. They were just unaware. We want them to be educated as to what's happening to them. Because only through education that they can actually change. Right, and that's one of the most satisfying things about being a doctor and working in this field.
Going back to the pap smear, go back to the pap smear. I'm one of those people I'm terrified of.
Oh, you're terrified?
I have to be psyched, basically, to get one. So every time I go to my OBGY, she's like, Anita, today's time for us pap smear. Can I come back in 2 months? It's a mental thing. I just have to...
You need to come to Royal Medical.
Right.
I think so.
Yes. And then we will go. I will see you first.
Okay.
We will go through the part where you have to get psyched up.
Right.
I will help with that. And then I'll hold your hand. Well
and
done.
take me over to Dr.
Right.
Dr. Grant.
But what you mentioned is very important. Because when they did a study in the Jamaican population, that was one of the big problems why people didn't do pap smears. Because there's a lot of miseducation about how it feels. But guess what? Everybody's different. Some people do a pap smear, they didn't even know what happened.
It's just a psychological experience.
Right, but it is. I mean, and the other good thing is that we've had pap smears, so we can relate to how it feels. Right, and that's one of the good things.
You have to get it at some point in time. So
some women are of the impression that we actually take flesh off or nip it or cut it. No, during a pap smear, it's a very gentle brush. You don't feel a thing. So what I do is, in terms of psyching up, I'll go into detail.
Right.
I literally show you every single thing that I'm going to use. I show it in the order that I'm going to use it in. You're allowed to touch the brush. You'll feel that, oh my goodness, it really does feel very
you use
soft.
a brush now.
It's
so it's
gentle.
not the clamp anymore?
So to get into the vagina, we can't go in there blindly now, Anita. Okay. Right. So, right. That aspect of it is complete. It's very relative. We genuinely during our pelvic exam, we ensure that the size speculum that we use is appropriate for you.
Okay.
Right.
All right, so I think by the clamp, that's what most people call it, 'cause that's what it feels to a clamp. It's the speculum.
I never look.
All right, so what has changed is that we've also changed the material. So usually there was metal material, we have plastic, and now we have different sizes. So we've changed that. And in the future, we're going to actually have a special type of pap smear where the patient can actually put it in themselves. That's in the future. Because they're trying to overcome the speculum. The speculum is a problem because you have to essentially put it in and open it up. And that's the discomfort with the pap smear. The pap smear itself isn't painful at all.
Neither does a speculum examination have to be painful either.
Okay, while I chew on this, we'll take a commercial break.
Definitely.
Thanks to our sponsors this morning, Cayman Medical Supplies and Cayman Insurance Center. In the studio we have from Royal Medical and Wellness Supply Center, Wellness Center, well, you supply as well, Dr. Grant and Dr. Irons.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
Although far less populated than Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac, Little Cayman was most definitely populated and a utilized island in the past, with numerous archaeological evidence discovered to support this. Off the north coast, 2 well-known historical wells have been located, along with an assortment of various size anchors around the coral of Bloody Bay, abandoned provision grounds, remains of an old stone fort, remnants of coconut harvesting, phosphate collection, and old trails. It is believed that the area would have been utilized for more than just the occasional passing ship, due to the organized piles of limestone rock which is believed to have been cleared to clear the soil for cultivation.
Information from this historical vignette was sourced from the Maritime Heritage of the Cayman Islands by Roger C. Smith.
We are telling you ahead of time, giving you the heads up to get ready. The black tie affair with a circus twist. Step right up. The annual gala hosted by Rotary Central for the Alex Panton Foundation. Saturday, May 29th, Marriott Beach Hotel Ballroom. Step right up. Support the Alex Panton Foundation, dedicated to serving and preserving young people through vulnerable times, mental health intervention, treatment, guidance, preserving life. The ambience of a circus affair. Tickets are limited, tickets are precious. Get your tickets from Rotary Central members. Go online to Rotary Central and the Alex Panton Foundation Facebook pages. Rotary Central and the Alex Panton Foundation. Rotary opens opportunity.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies. Free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
Open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Still delivering island-wide for your convenience.
2020. Unprecedented times, uncertainty, and literally a new way of life.
Life happens, usually without warning.
That is why making sure that your family is insured is so important.
Cayman Insurance Center, 47 years strong, working to protect your family and your most valuable assets.
Whether you need to get a quote, renew a policy, or file a claim, Cayman Insurance Center is here to protect you and your family.
For more information, call 949-4657. Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, health, motor, and other lines of insurance products and services at affordable rates.
Business Boss. Anita Khan.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. It's 8 minutes until we bring you the news this morning. In the studio, joining me, we have Dr. Grant and Dr. Irons, and they're both from Royal Medical and Wellness Center. And this month is month of the child month,
yes.
Child month, and it is also High Blood Pressure Awareness Month. Now, what can all of this do as it relates to hypertension control and stroke prevention to improve our cardiovascular health?
Okay, great.
And
I'm
Dr. Irons, sugarhead.
Yes,
okay.
That's my forte. Right.
Okay.
So it's very, very important for persons to know their blood pressure. So even if you come in and that's not what you came in for, we screen everyone's blood pressure. We do it for a very specific reason. You can't look by telling. So the normal blood pressure, we have a systolic, which is the number on top, the diastolic, which is the number on the bottom, and the JNC 7 and 8 guidelines. You guys can look it up. It's really easy. JNC 7. And now they've revamped it. It's JNC 8. Normal blood pressures are considered to be 130 over 80 and below. So everyone who comes in, we ask them to sit for 5 to 10 minutes and we check their blood pressure. It's very important because if you walk around or exercise, it can affect your blood pressure. If you go to sleep, yes, it affects your blood pressure. The time of the day also does that as well, based on our circadian rhythm. There are persons who have blood pressure readings who are 131 to 139, over 81 to 89. This has become a concerning group for us. And again, if you don't come in, we won't know, because studies have shown that these persons that are considered pre-hypertensive actually can have similar risks to persons whose blood pressures are above 140 on the top and above 100 on the bottom, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it's very important to understand the concept of blood pressure, blood vessels, and our hearts. Our hearts pump blood to everywhere in our body, and it's carried to all of the organs via blood vessels called capillaries and arteries. Yes? Arteries are made up of specific muscles and a lining that can become bothered and very inflamed or upset when the blood pressure is elevated. You don't feel it. You don't know. There aren't necessarily symptoms, and the symptoms that can occur may occur too late. So as primary care physicians and family physicians, we are quite keen on trying to keep your blood pressure normal, which is equal to 130 on top, 80 below, and lower, so as to not damage the lining of our arteries. Once damaged, we have a lot of cholesterol type bodies and triglycerides, and they can form atherosclerotic plaques. All that means is that they're chunks of fat in the lining of your artery that allow other types of blood vessels to say, oh my goodness, what's happening here? Let us try and fix this problem. And unfortunately, in trying to fix the problem, further damage the arteries and can cause them to become blocked. So if you think about it, our heart, our brain, our kidneys, our eyes are very, very important. And we actually have to protect them because we don't want these places to not get any blood, because then we end up with strokes, heart attacks, kidney problems that can lead to chronic renal failure and you having to have to be on dialysis. So the best thing to do is, yes, if you can, invest in a blood pressure machine. And other than that, present to your doctor for your annual medical. Let us do your blood pressure.
Yes, yeah. As she said, blood pressure is a silent killer. You know, and the good thing about Cayman here, you can get your blood pressure. You can go to HSA. They have this nice little blood pressure thing you sit in. I don't know if you've ever used it.
At Foster's.
Yes, at Foster's.
It pinches a lot.
Yes, it pinches. But it's quite convenient. The reading comes up right.
You're saying 135 is normal. 135, 130.
So I'm saying 130 on the top.
Right, 130
and
over
90. Sorry, 80 on the bottom. My apologies. Is considered normal. So that and below.
Right.
Everything above that is a cause for concern.
I can't remember the last time I've seen mine that low.
So you're coming to Royal Medical, yes, and Wellness Center, yes.
I believe so. I believe so.
Because we actually do ambulatory blood pressure care just to monitor and to see exactly what is happening when you're not here. We have something called white coat syndrome, where we never come on.
I was going to ask you about that because I always say whenever I go to the doctor, and from the time I see the blood pressure machine, I panic, and I always say I suffer from the white coat syndrome, and nobody believes me.
So I tell all my patients who come in with that problem, I'm like, so we're going to do your blood pressures at home. You're going to WhatsApp them to me. That's the beauty of Royal Medical. You can get Dr. Grant Davies. You can get me. You can call us at any time. We're available. One of the beautiful parts of being a part of the royal family at Royal Wellness and Medical.
And while you're there, you can give us some contact details and location.
We are available for appointments. We are located at Blaytown Plaza, 36 West Bay Road, and you can call 769-6230 for all appointments and inquiries. That's 769-6230. For emergencies, our medical director is available all the time. You can call him at 922-119. That's Mr. Kirk Donald at 922-22119. I am available on WhatsApp and via phone 922-9545. And it's hard to talk to patients while seeing patients. So we can definitely have Miss Eileen and Diane and Katrina help us in terms of organizing appointments for you to come in.
Okay. Sounds like a fun place to come and get your health checked out.
And to work.
Now, anything you'd like to leave with our listeners this morning?
I just don't want to leave out, again, the persons who are menopausal. I just want to end with that. I don't know if everybody knows what menopause is, but menopause is that change of life when most people stop having their periods, right? But there's a lot of changes before the periods stop, right? And at Royal Medical, as gynecologists, we actually specialize in taking care of this group of people. They've been sidelined. So if your periods have stopped, it doesn't mean that your life has stopped. Okay. Right? There are a lot of other changes that are still happening. So please come to Royal Medical if you're in that age group, 51 and beyond. Some people may go in earlier. Please come and let's get you checked out. Right?
And finally, before I let you go, do you take Seneca? What's some of the insurances or providers that you take?
Seneca is the only one that's an issue for us. We take all the others. Seneca, unfortunately, persons will come and pay out of pocket and then have to apply for their benefits through Seneca, unfortunately. We do also take walk-in. So it's not by appointment. Exactly. You could just be passing by. Wonder if I'm menopausal. One of my blood pressure is, and just walk in.
Yes. Dr. Grant and Dr. Irons, thank you so much for stopping by. We got to have you back.
And
it's always
fun
to
have you in
the studio.
Thank you for having us.
We learn something new every time you walk into the studio.
I was so excited to hear we were coming back, Anita. I've missed you.
I miss you both too. Thank you so much, and please continue doing what you do. We do appreciate it. Stay safe, and thanks again for all that you do. It's time now for the news.
Yes, thank you too.
Radio Cayman time check is now 8 a.m. This time check is brought to you by our friends at Priced Right.
Cayman, it's time to start paying less for your meat.
That's right. You can now find all your favorite fresh bulk cuts at new lower prices, but only at Priced Right.
We now have new everyday lower prices on oxtail, whole bone and ribeye, plant-based Beyond Beef, and so much more.
So whether you're buying wholesale cuts for your family, a large gathering, or for your business, you need to check out Priced Right's new lower meat prices.
Head to pricedright.ky for more info.
Live better for less at Priced Right.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. We are a not-for-profit, member-centric plan with a democratically elected volunteer board of trustees representing all sectors of the Cayman Islands economy. We have an all-in expense ratio of less than 1%, over 20,000 members, and $490 million in assets under management. We were the first multi-employer pension plan approved by the regulator in the late 1990s, and today we are still strong, secure, and are here for our employees and employers employers alike. If you would like to join or require further information, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Police believe a man is shot in the early hours of Monday morning. Details from Radio Cayman's April Cummings.
The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service says just before 1 a.m., officers were called to the hospital where a man was being treated for what is believed to be a gunshot wound. During the course of the investigation, police say they were led to believe that a shooting took place in the area of Seymour Road in Georgetown. Officers from the Firearms Response Unit responded and made checks to the area, and during a search where it was suspected the incident took place, a large number of people were found gathered, but police say, quote, no information of significance was found. This has prompted detectives to issue a community appeal for any witnesses to come forward if they have information about the shooting. Tips can be made by calling the Georgetown Police Station at 949-4222 or anonymously on 800-TIPS. April Cummings, Radio Cayman News.
In other police news, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service says an online post has sparked an investigation. On April 30th, the RCIPS was alerted to a video that was making the rounds on social media of a young woman claiming she'd been the victim of domestic abuse. The RCIPS says, quote, immediate action was taken by the police in order to safeguard the parties involved, and the matter is being investigated. Police Service says it's committed to the cause of eliminating and preventing incidents of domestic violence and is encouraging anyone who may be involved in an abusive relationship to file a complaint by calling their local police station or 911 for an emergency. A team from Workforce Opportunity Residency Cayman wraps up a weekend trip to Cayman Brac.
We're over here in Cayman Brac, first of all, to get to know the teams better. As you know, we used to visit the Brac quite often, and we want to relaunch that. Ensuring that we're all on the same page.
National Training and Development Manager Diane Connolly says the trip provided a great opportunity to connect, assess, and strategize.
We looked at where we are strategically, where we wanted to go. We also examined our policy and procedures to ensure that we were in line. We also assisted in training the staff on the use of our Jobs Cayman site and how to deal with queries directly for themselves here.
Audio there courtesy of CIG-TV. And the Cayman National Cultural Foundation has announced the application for its 2021 grant for the arts program as it's now open for the September review. CNCF official says the grant applications program is part of the organization's mission to facilitate and preserve all forms of artistic expression in Cayman. Individuals who are resident for at least the preceding 12 months and art groups operating in Cayman, which have a project or activity that will be completed in a set period, are eligible. The grants for the arts guidelines and application forms can be donated at artscayman.org or collected at the CNCF office. The deadline to submit your grant application is July 15th. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
BBC News, I'm John Shea. An investigation has been launched by the Mexico City Mayor, Claudia Sheinbaum, into the collapse of a metro overpass on Monday night, which killed at least 23 people. Dozens of others were injured as train carriages plunged onto a busy road below. Emergency teams have worked through the night to rescue trapped passengers. Foreign ministers of the G7 group of industrialised nations are holding their first direct talks in more than 2 years. Their discussions in London will focus on how the leading open democratic nations can draw together to counter the growing influence of autocratic governments. The world's richest cricket tournament, the Indian Premier League, has been suspended after some players tested positive for coronavirus. An Indian Cricket Board official said no date had been fixed for the resumption of matches. Afghan officials say at least 8 security personnel have been killed in clashes with Taliban militants in the southern province of Helmand. The provincial council chief said the insurgents had captured at least 10 security posts near the city of Lashkargah. Police in Germany have arrested a far-right sympathiser whom they suspect of having sent more than 100 threatening messages to public figures, including politicians, officials, artists and lawyers. The 53-year-old German man was detained in Berlin. The United Nations Human Rights Office has accused Colombia's security agencies of using excessive force against protesters. At least 19 people have died during a week of unrest over proposed tax reforms. The Colombian government has scrapped its tax reform plan, but protests have continued with a big demonstration planned for Wednesday. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is proudly sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. For further information, please visit chamberpension.ky.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah, we got the best goods with the best price and a service to make you smile. Kirk's Home Center, we got a great deal in store for you.
The 8:10 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
For over 100 years, more than 5.8 million people across the Americas and the Caribbean have placed their trust in Pan American Life Insurance Group. We have delivered on our promise and have proven that we are more than an insurance company. We are family. To learn more about our first-in-class individual and group life, disability and accident solutions, please visit Pan American International Insurance Corporation at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Sound Road, Grand Cayman, or contact us at 949-8304 and visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
Good morning, Cayman. Let's take a look at your weather. Compliments of our friends at Pan American Life Insurance. Present temperature 82 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels like about 90 now. Winds are out of the southeast at 10 miles per hour. Relative humidity 78%. Last night's dew point was at 75. Barometric pressures at 29.97 inches and holding. Moderate southeasterly winds and seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours in association with a high-pressure system over the central Atlantic Ocean. Our forecast for today, partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of morning showers. Temperatures will rise to the mid-80s. Winds will be east to southeast at 10 to 15 knots with higher gusts. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Later tonight, partly cloudy skies, 20% chance of late night showers. Temperatures will fall to the upper 70s. Winds will be southeast at 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. We're in a high tide. Low tide is coming up at 11:51 this morning. It's going to be high at 5:56 this afternoon. Tomorrow, low tide is at midnight. High at 6:14 a.m., low at 12:39 a.m., and high at 6:47 p.m. Sunset this evening is at 6:48. Sunrise for tomorrow at 5:55. The outlook through Thursday morning is for light easterly winds and slight seas. That's your latest weather right here on Radio Cayman.
The 8:10 a.m. weather report, Monday through Friday, is proudly sponsored by Pan American International Insurance Corporation. Pan American International Insurance Corporation, meeting the life, accident, and health insurance needs of individuals and businesses to ensure financial security and peace of mind. For more information, call 949-8304 or visit www.palig.com. That's PALIG.com.
For over 100 years, more than 5.8 million people across the Americas and the Caribbean have placed their trust in Pan American Life Insurance Group. We have delivered on our promise and have proven that we're more than just an insurance company, we're family. To learn more about our first-in-class group health and employee benefit solutions, please visit Pan American Life Insurance Company of the Cayman Islands at Unit 221, Cannon Place East, North Sound Road, Grand Cayman, or contact us at 949-8304. You can also visit us online at www.palig.com. Pan American Life, people you can trust for life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Achieving your goals is a very rewarding feeling, but at times can feel very frustrating, especially if and when we miss our target. As you approach your goals in life, set yourself up for success.
When setting your goals, celebrate your progress. It's important to acknowledge progress each step of the way as you achieve your goals. Everything that you do to move in that direction gets you a little closer. Planning small rewards along the way can help to keep things interesting and give us a taste of what sweet success will be like.
Change your thinking and change your life.
Radio Cayman's Cayman Strong Series was brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
All right, morning, Cayman. As you make your movements into Georgetown or any other parts of the Cayman Islands, let's take a look at the traffic situation. Of course, looking at the east-west arterial, Crichton Boulevard, the majority of traffic coming out of the eastern districts has slowed up. As you traverse into Georgetown, traffic is moving good that way. Except just looking outside King Sports Center along Crew Road. Traffic is backed up there to make your way onto the Linford-Pearson Highway. Of course, going through South Sound as well. Expect the usual slow-paced traffic. And of course, looking at Holder Avenue, as the influx of traffic comes in, it's slow-paced but moving good to make your way around the CNB roundabout and continuing onwards. Looking at traffic coming through Windsor Park, of course, Anthony Drive got some traffic backed up there as well. And of course, at Smith Road at that junction there. And of course, be careful at the four-way stop at the outside the hospital. It's also busy there as well. Most streets in Georgetown getting very much busy. A lot of traffic along the South Church Street as you make your commute into Georgetown. And South Sound as well, got some traffic there. And also on Walker's Road, just past John Gray High School, traffic is slow-paced moving along Walker's Road in the northbound lane. Coming out of West Bay, of course, traffic is moving slowly, of course, getting closer to Georgetown. Expect the usual buildup of traffic.
And of course, looking at the roundabout outside A.L. Thompson, traffic is moving good and slowly in all directions there. Of course, the traffic eases up probably about 30 minutes to an hour from now, and everybody will be in. Be safe out there, buckle up, and be careful with pedestrians, those on bicycles and motorbikes. And don't be on your smartphones while driving. This traffic report brought to you by our friends at Subway.
Things just got a bit hotter on the island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Business Buzz. Business Buzz with your host, Anita Khan.
Good morning and welcome back to the second segment of the Business Buzz this morning. We take you up to 9 o'clock. It's 18 after 8. I want to say good morning and thank you to Silver Fox for getting us on at the controls, doing just about everything. Also, thank you to our producer, Miss Susan Watson. Susan is off on vacation and she'll be back with us shortly. And also thanks to our sponsors, Cayman Medical Supplies and Cayman Insurance Center. Thank you for your kind and generous sponsorship of the Business Buzz. And in the studio this morning, we're joined by Mrs. Nicola Williams. Nicola is the president of the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association. She was here, I think it was last week, with Ms. Juliet Austin from Life, and we had quite an engaging conversation in the studio. Now this morning, Nicola is back. She's back by herself, her lonesome. So we'll be putting the focus basically on literacy. Good morning, Nicola.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you back in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, like I said, you're not with your sidekick this morning.
Yes.
So how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Anything new since you left our studios?
Well, the Week of the Young Child reached its end, and it was an exciting week. We got a lot of positive feedback from the preschools with all kinds of activities. People are sending pictures around, too, of the wonderful things the children were doing. So, yeah, it was a really successful week. We feel really good about it. And that's leading right on to Child Month, which is exciting as well.
Good segue.
Yes, it is. It's perfect. Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you back in and letting us know, what went on. Now, Nicola, share some information on the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association and the main aim of the association.
Yeah. So the association was actually founded a long time ago, 1997, by a group of very dedicated early childhood professionals, Rena Jefferson being one. And she's just a wealth of knowledge about early childhood and so passionate and she's dedicated, her entire life to early childhood, having a preschool as well. So she had the foresight to start this professional association to support early childhood professionals and owners and directors of preschools in the island. The main focus is professional learning in our monthly meetings. And we partner with many different members of the community, governmental organizations, the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit. They're very supportive of the work we do. And then other organizations as well, such as Life, which you heard about last, and Cayman Arts Festival. University of the West Indies we have a partnership with. So it's partnership, engaging stakeholders and partnering with members of the community, professional learning, and then support as well to the preschools in any way we can.
Okay. Now, we're going to dig right into the early childhood programs, the importance of early childhood programs. What is the importance of offering early childhood programs?
Well, the importance of offering early childhood programs, the real importance comes down to the philosophy and approach and the kind of experiences we're providing for young children. When children first started entering large group care, educators saw it as an opportunity to sort of teach the academic type knowledge, like knowledge that the children will be learning later in school, earlier. And the intentions were good. We wanted to give them a head start. And so we did it, and we studied it very well, and we realized that that type of knowledge and those kinds of learning experiences are not suited to age and stage of the child. And we call that developmentally appropriate practice, just using what we know about child development to guide our program decisions in early years settings. We realized it stresses them out as well, which was of concern for us too.
Even as an adult, I get stressed out. So
Yeah.
Can you imagine the children?
And we don't want small children being stressed at school, because it's their first impression with school and themselves as learners. Even very, very young children know that it's a school, and these are teachers, and first impressions matter. And we want them to feel good about themselves as learners and have a sense of trust, because they love learning and they're incredibly competent learners. And so our role is more to facilitate and support the incredible amount of learning that they do in the first 5 years.
No, we understand that children develop at different rates. But what literacy-related tasks should parents expect their children to accomplish across the 3 age bands? What we have: birth to 3, 3 to 4, and kindergarten.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that children learn to read and write when they can read words and write words. And yet reading and writing begins long before that, actually while children are still in the womb. So if you read the same story to a child while still in the womb, when they're born, they'll prefer that story. They'll show a preference as a newborn to that story over any other story read to them. They know their mother's voice. They know their mother's native language, even spoken by someone else. So already they've learned quite a lot of information about language and literacy. And schools have sort of traditionally focused more on the reading and writing side of things and not as much on language. And language is the precursor to literacy, and it's an important component. Like, for example, even to be able to write the word cat, a child has to be able to isolate the sounds in the word cat, which we call phonological awareness, and then match. So first isolate the sounds and then match those sounds to letters. So the initial understanding required is an understanding of sounds and how they go together. And young children are any parent who has a young child knows that they love making the sounds of animals.
Oh, yeah.
So they know that's something important for them to learn.
No, from birth, it's called while you're in the womb. Is that what they call emergent literacy?
Well, yeah, because if children we talk about immersing them in a print-rich environment. And when you let them explore print, even before they've cracked the alphabetic code, they get a lot of conceptual understanding. They also, it's really important in early years programs, part of immersion is to teach children the purposes and functions of written language, because it's very apparent to them why they need to learn to speak, because their bottle is on the counter or whatever. I always use that example, and they want their bottle. So either you got to crawl to it or you've got to learn how to say bottle. So the functions, and then obviously the functions of language in establishing relationships with their caregivers, which is very important to young children. So it's very obvious to young children why they need to learn to talk, but not so obvious about why they need to read and write. So it's really important for early years to immerse them in print, in using print to organize yourselves, to assist learning, and modeling the use of print. Not only does that help their conceptual understanding, it serves as a powerful motivator. And then they want to crack the code, right? Because what you want first is, and they learn to enjoy print, in the form of books and writing cards and even organizing their play, those kinds of things. And adults a great thing parents can do is point out anytime there's print, any kind of use of print, point it out to your child at the bank machine, wherever you are, signs, exit signs, anything like that. Children are very interested in their world, and so if you just incidentally point things out rather than be so instructive, young children really, really benefit.
It's amazing what they can retain as well.
They're like
all
sponges.
The Burger King signs and Subway signs. And
that's part of it, right? Point those signs out to them. They know. I remember my children, it was Toys R Us when they knew that sign very early on.
They couldn't spell, but I'm sure they knew it. Recognition, I guess. No. What should parents do if a child won't sit still to read? They'll sit still to watch something on an iPad, but they will not still sit still to read a book. how can we get them to sit still?
I think that
it might sound like a simple question, but
no, it's true.
It can be a difficult one too.
And some children are more active than others. Some children are more naturally drawn to books than others. You know, in earlier settings, we try. It's important It's more important to invite young children and entice them and compel them to read rather than to force them to read. So we try, like even at my preschool, we try to use what we know about the child and our relationship with the child to create a situation or a learning activity that they're compelled to come and join. And, you know, even when you bring books out into the garden, if you know what your child's interested in, getting books that they are interested in, going to the bookstore together to pick out a book is wonderful. So those kinds of things, if you engage them in it and empower them in relation to it and give them, you know, young children do so well when they're given some choice, because they really strive for that autonomy, especially 3-year-olds. They want some control over, and that's a lovely thing to give them control over, because at the end of the day, it's their learning journey.
Sometimes too much control is not good.
Well, exactly. So you pick and choose, right? The times when the parent needs to be a parent that you and make the decisions, but the reading a book and choice of a book is a lovely decision to give children some of the time anyway. Right?
It's amazing when you tell them, go pick a book out and the one that they'll pick.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, why that one? But, you know, it's their choice, right?
Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, even a big, thick book. I had my book, and one of the children, I had a big, thick book. I happened to have it, and they noticed it. I pointed out to them, look at all the words on this book. This is interesting, isn't it? And they're flipping through. That's all sinking in and making an impact on them.
So what's the difference between a picture book and what we call a beginning reader?
Well, the picture books are more, the focus is that shared reading, you know, curl up on your mom or dad's lap or sit with a teacher and just enjoy the story. Usually it's something that the child can't yet read on their own, but not necessarily. The idea of the readers, the leveled readers, that kind of came in a bit later on in my career anyway, because I've been at this for a while. But educators decided to level books. So, you know, the beginning reader would be one word per page. So it would be something like the birthday party, and then it would be a cake, you know, a candle, a present, a
run,
whatever.
Dick, run.
Yeah, Run, Dick, Run was a classic. Yeah, ours was Spot. I remember Spot.
Run, Spot, Run. Yes.
Yeah.
But those picture books, I think it's because you can, like you said, you can sit with them and read, and they can make up their own stories, even if they're not following what exactly is in the picture. They can make up their own, you know, narrative as they go along, I guess.
Absolutely. And that's really important, too, because what we find if you teach the technical aspects of reading and writing too soon, two things get in the way. One, pleasure and purpose, but also comprehension seems to be very impacted by that. And that's what you're talking about. Parents really emphasize the technical aspects of reading and writing, but we have to also remember how important it is for children to be able to interpret books and the language involved in being able to look at the picture in a story and make up their own words. It's a valuable thing for them to be doing.
Nicola, we've got to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to ask you, how can children develop early literacy skills if their first language is not English? So hold that thought for us. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the Business Buzz. On the Buzz this morning, we're speaking to Mrs. Nicola Williams. She's president of the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association.
2020, unprecedented times, uncertainty, and literally a new way of life.
Life happens, usually without warning.
That is why making sure that your family is insured is so important.
Cayman Insurance Center, 47 years strong, working to protect your family and your most valuable assets.
Whether you need to get a quote, renew a policy, or file a claim, Cayman Insurance Center is here to protect you and your family.
For more information, call 949-4657. Cayman Insurance Center, specializing in property, life, health, motor, and other lines of insurance products and services at affordable rates.
Hey Cayman, this is your reigning Miss Cayman Islands Universe, Mariah Tibbetts. I'll be representing our beautiful islands at Miss Universe in Hollywood, Florida on May 16th. This year we have the opportunity to vote for one contestant to make it into the top 21. Vote for me by downloading the Miss Universe app on your phone and click on Cayman Islands to cast your vote. Thank you so much for all your support.
Business Buzz. Anita Khan.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. In the studio this morning, we have Mrs. Nicola Williams, President of the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association. Good morning again, Nicola.
Good morning.
We had a quick break. I didn't even get to drink some water. Thanks, Paul. Now, before we took that break, I asked you to ponder the question. How can children develop early literacy skills if their first language is not English?
Yeah, so again, in early years, it's really important to expose children as well to many different languages as well. And to, we talk about not just developmentally appropriate practice in early years, but also that idea of individually appropriate practice and culturally appropriate practice, which is welcoming the diversity of young children. And part of that is the home language and bringing it into the classroom to celebrate, and using that as a basis to teach not just, the language skills involved, so English, if you're going to learn to read and write in English, learning obviously the language is a prerequisite to being able to obviously read and write the language. So bringing in books in your home, in the child's, like inviting them to bring home into the school books in their home language, inviting their parents to come in, and even if it's a playtime, we have parents come in and they just sit in the reading area. And they'll read a book, the same book, once in English and then once in the home language, whether it's Spanish or French. Or, even we've had literacy days where parents come in and read. They stay, at drop off in the garden, and all the parents are there reading, and they're welcome to read in whatever language they like. And any exposure to language and literacy is valuable for the young child, and they soak that in. So I would say to help them learn literacy is to focus on language first, especially in the early years, and welcoming that language into the classroom to be not just for the benefit of the child, but also for all the children to be exposed to another language, which is an important conceptual understanding too, right? Because language is really arbitrary. I mean, the fact that a cat is a cat, C-A-T, and those sounds together is totally really arbitrary, right? There's no connection between C, A, and T.
Correct.
And so children who speak more than one language have a better understanding of that idea, that it is arbitrary. And so that's a higher order conceptual understanding.
Nicola, I know you've lived around the world. We had that conversation, and it was so interesting that I wanted to just bring it out a little bit in our conversation. Now, you've lived in Turks. You've also lived in Switzerland and in Singapore as well.
Yeah.
Now, Singapore, let's talk about that a little bit. What was the experience there working with children?
Well, it was amazing because just before I moved there in the beginning of 2011, the country had just put out their early years sort of curriculum framework or guiding document, as many countries around the world have been doing, especially in the last about 10 years. Cayman Islands put out their Cayman Islands Early Years Curriculum Framework in 2014. So when I moved to Singapore in 2010, they had just put out their early years document, and they just invested a huge amount of money. I believe it was about $3 billion initially into early childhood, which was amazing. So my job was to design curriculum for teachers. A big part was initial teacher training. So I designed curriculum for that and then delivered professional learning sessions to parents. And another exciting part of my job was family engagement. So I went around to different preschools in Singapore and gave talks to parents kind of about the kind of content we're talking about today. Because Singapore, the government there realized that their education system needed to change to produce more creative graduates, innovators. They recognized that young children today who can think of a good idea or solve a problem, that child's going to be very valuable to society.
And they go a long way. Yeah.
And this memorizing and regurgitating information is really a thing of the past because of computers. Computers do it much better than us. And in one of the books I love, it's called The Happy Child, they say, computers do it better than us and they don't need lunch breaks or holidays. So we don't want to compete with computers anymore. We want to do things that computers can't do. We want to emphasize that in our schools. So that would be relationship, innovation, imagination, connection, creativity, even things like synthesis of information. So
now that would bring us to my next question. Do you think attending a preschool makes a difference?
Well, that's a really interesting question. And there's a huge answer to that because, again, it comes down to quality, though, right? Because any one thing, so advancements in technology have really enhanced our understanding of the brain. And what surprised us the most, so we've got PET scans and EEGs and MRIs, and they're not as invasive as they used to be because of technology. So we've used that opportunity to learn more about the brain, and we were surprised at how immature the brain is at birth and how quickly it develops, particularly over the first 3 years, but also 5 years. Young children make about 1 million connections in their brain per minute. And the types of experiences that they have really have an impact on that. And so it's about quality. Anyone can give a young child the experiences they need to thrive, whether it's a mother or father in the home, a nanny, a large group care. Anyone can do it. Neuroscience has brought us back to the basics. There's nutrition, sleep, and health, but then there's really just two major focuses for young children. It's relationship and exploration of a stimulating environment. They want a relationship that's stable over time and trusting with the caregiver. So they've got this drive for security and relationship, and then this drive for exploration to figure out their world, and they use the two together. We call the caregiver a secure base. The young child uses the caregiver as a secure base from which to explore their world. And then if they get out there and they trip or fall or something, they come back to and get that security again. Then they're ready to go out again, and then maybe they want to share something they learned with you, which they love to do. And it's so important for caregivers to realize that they're learning these things for the first time and to share in that excitement with them.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So early years programs have incredible potential, though. To a huge impact on not just on the child's present, but on the future, health, wealth, and safety of future society. And the biggest thing that power potential is it's compensatory for children living in disadvantaged or stressful home environments. Early years programs is incredible what a high quality early years program can accomplish. And be a support to families as well. Early years programs have a huge potential to support families as well, sharing, from mutual exchange of information and sharing about the child and so on.
As a teacher yourself and a preschool owner, how can teachers foster literacy development?
Again, I think it comes down to interaction, social interaction, and yet too many times, if we're even for older children. I always ask, when I meet a 5 or 6 or 7-year-old, I'll start talking to them about house school, and I'll say, what do you have to do to be good in school? And they'll always say, be quiet. Be quiet. Listen to the teacher, or they'll say, sit still, or they'll say, be good. And then if I say, what do you have to do to be good? Sit still, be quiet, listen to the teacher. And yet, language-rich social interaction is such a key component, it's key for very young children, but it's key all the way through. Human beings learn through dialogue with each other, the exchange of information and dialogue. And there's nothing more rich than that to stimulate learning. And yet too many of our schools around the world and earlier centers see talking as this distraction as opposed to this incredible tool for learning, and mechanism for learning. And young children want to talk. They want to move and they want to talk. And because they know what's best for their learning and development. So we want to recognize that.
That is so interesting because a lot of children get into trouble because they're talking in the classroom and they get suspended from school because they're talking.
Yeah.
But they might be talking out of context. Not what the teacher wants them to talk about.
Yes.
But they're talking nevertheless. So it's interesting that you say that.
Yeah,
because I think most teachers have to be aware of that fact, and they're not because we're still old school teachers.
Yeah.
That you don't speak up. You stay quiet.
Yeah. And even if you think in the workplace, really, because you have to think school is supposed to be preparing children to be successful, contributing, happy citizens, ideally.
Ideally.
And in the workplace, collaboration is really important, being able to get along with your colleagues and collaborate. And yet in too many schools around the world, collaboration is seen as a disruption, or cheating. Even.
Cheating.
Yeah, collaboration is seen as cheating. So it's very interesting when you start thinking about it.
You're a true teacher. What strategies and programs do you recommend for teaching phonics and early literacy skills to preschools.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, it's a question of emphasis too, right? So if you're doing all the, you're cuddling up with your child and reading a book, which you can't beat that for even for learning phonics, but playing around, like I said, with sounds of words. And yes, parents and teachers often use worksheets and workbooks. And what I recommend with them too is it's a question of emphasis. If that's all the child's doing, a worksheet with a B on it and asking the child to trace is kind of asking a very young child to take an isolated aspect of something and then figure out what the larger context is. Like it's in isolation and figure out the whole from the part, which is very difficult. Everyone, even adults and certainly young children, learn when you take them from the whole and what they know and then go down to the part from there. So as far as worksheets and workbooks go, it's a question of emphasis. We don't want that to be the only thing we're doing and do that at the expense of other wonderful things that really foster language development. But also, there are ways to enrich them by even having a group of children, 1 or 2 or 3 children. Like in our center, we put worksheets in a writing center where the children can select during playtime, during center time, as they're going around and choosing their activities. So when you have 2 or 3 children doing a worksheet together, now you've got that rich dialogue and social interaction as well. They're collaborating, they're sharing.
Teamwork starting early.
Yeah. And then you've made it a richer experience than just sit down quietly, turn to page 5 and fill in your book and nobody talk.
Nicola, we have a caller on the line.
Oh, okay.
Hello, good morning, caller. Hello?
Yeah, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for calling the Business Buzz. How are you?
Yeah. Good. Dr. Frank McField here.
Hi, Dr. Frank. Good to hear from you.
Yes, well, I'm just hearing some very sensible ideas, in regards to teaching. And it's really good to hear them because they're so basic and yet so very true.
Thank
practical. It's funny how people, when they study education, they're studying about these theories, and everybody's always trying to sell something new, so we're always getting new methodologies. And the more we get, the further away we get from common sense.
Yeah, it's so true.
The human being really is an animal of relationship.
Absolutely.
We are. That's why people become drug addicts, because the relationships are not there, and so we bond with drugs. And so a lot of the problems that we are experiencing here in the Cayman Islands could be solved basically with what you're hearing on your radio show right now. It's hard to get people who are unfamiliar with what a human being really is to buy into this, because we only know things and we know systems, but we don't know people, we don't know relationships, because we're not taught these things. This is why I sent my son to the Montessori program, and he turned out to be completely different. He learned different, and he stressed different things, but the most important thing is once he had a connection, and he understood the rewards of having connections with people, relationships, he started to learn so much.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it will ever be possible. I know this is a commercial program, but I think that I'm saying things that actually sort of elevate that particular understanding of that particular program. I would encourage people to use that program and use the people who have that particular type of teaching philosophy, because that's the key. Education is the key. Relationships is what it's all about. Communication. In the beginning, there was the word and so forth and so on. So I'm happy to hear that. Thank the lady very much for bringing that time.
It's Mrs. Nicola Williams, and she's the president of the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association.
Okay. Well, that's great, because Mrs. Williams, I was fired from government in 1979 because I said that early childhood education was the key. I was willing to go down for it, because they wanted to build a middle school, And I said, no, let's invest in early childhood education. And that was a big problem then. And so it's hard for us here to correct our problems in education if we don't invest a ton of money in early childhood education.
That's absolutely true. And you were way ahead of your time. But what I can reassure you on is it's an exciting time now for early years on a global level. Everybody's, focusing on it. You have big global organizations like UNICEF and the UN and World Health Organization. They're all focused, and even the OECD. Everybody's focused on early years, and even governments around the world are responding. So it's you were way ahead of your time, and I was with you back then too, or not quite that far back, but pretty far back. I've been advocating for this for a very long time, and so everyone who has been, even Rena Jefferson as well. We're all very excited about this interest, and you're right. It's the most important stage of a child's development and learning. It's a period of brain plasticity and rapid learning. Right? Think of a newborn baby, and then think of a 5-year-old, and think of all that they have learned in those 5 years. You'll never learn more than that. For the rest of your life, you can get all the PhDs in the world, and a newborn to a 5-year-old is an enormous accomplishment, and it's also a really important opportunity for any society, not just because it's an ethical and moral responsibility to use what we know to provide experiences and care for young children that they need and deserve, but also the reason the OECD and economists are in on it as well is because it's a really lucrative investment. There's James Heckman, who won the Nobel laureate for his work in economics and investment in childhood, and exactly what you're saying. The return on investment, even from an economics point of view, is greatest prenatally, and then drops quite steadily through early childhood and yet most countries invest in children in the exact opposite way. So we're missing a really valuable opportunity. And also these young children deserve, they don't have a voice as much as older children. So they deserve for us, with that saying, it takes a village. Everyone needs to advocate for their care and invest.
Mm-hmm. It's it's great to hear this, and I hope that with our new government in place that they will realize and buy into this concept that they cannot go into the school system and repair what is broken. We might be able to solve or problem manage many of the struggling issues we have with regards to discipline and training. But early childhood education is the key to education. It's where the investment should go. And although over the last 40-something years, and they're bragging about what they're doing for early childhood education now, but imagine that we had preschools, the NCVO had preschools that I was in charge of back in 1977, 78, 79, and we're still at the stage of trying to get it across to the policy makers in education that they must begin to introduce assistance and guidance to families, to single parents. That's all important. It's all part of one strategy of human development, of education. And maybe now we will have people who will listen to the fact that we have to begin early if we want to have influence on a human being. It cannot start at 7 years old. That's old way of looking at these things.
Absolutely.
And perhaps your voice will really be heard. Even if mine is not, because it makes all the sense of the world. I mean, I'm not looking for my voice to be heard in this country because I know who I am and why they don't listen to me. But maybe they might listen to you, because if they don't, they will have no generation that will ever be able to inherit this land, because they will always be a minority.
And the difference between what both of you and myself were doing earlier is now we've got this massive, compelling body of research supporting what we're advocating for. So like I said, it's an exciting time because we have that backing now. And so it's quite compelling. Governments are acting because it's just so compelling. It's such a huge body of research and so conclusive that it's almost irresponsible now not to act on a global level. For investing in early childhood.
Dr. Frank, we've got to take a break, but we want to say
Thank you
you
very much.
so much for your input this morning. And we do appreciate
Thank you.
we appreciate you, and we appreciate a call.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to break. You're listening to the Business Buzz. Oh gosh.
Don't let the stress of taking care of loved ones get you down.
Home care, now made easier with Cayman Medical Supplies. 100% Caymanian owned. Cayman Medical Supplies now stocks a wide range of home care supplies. Hospital beds, all types of wheelchairs, including beach access wheelchairs, lifts, commodes, shower chairs, walkers, Curad brand orthopedic supplies. Free blood glucose monitors with the purchase of 1 pack of test strips, blue underpads, and a whole lot more.
Need home care convenience? Drop by Cayman Medical Supplies at 93 Smith Road, Windward Center, or call 949-6211. Free delivery.
Open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Still delivering island-wide for your convenience.
The Progressives invite all supporters and well-wishers to an appreciation celebration. This Friday, May 7th at the Lion Center. The fun starts at 7 p.m. Come and enjoy good music, food, and refreshments. This Friday, May 7th from 7 p.m. at the Lion Center.
Children want to know you're listening to them, but they also want to listen to you. When it comes to alcohol or any drug, they want to know your expectation and how and why to stop underage consumption. Talking early and often about it in everyday conversation reinforces your message and keeps lines of communication open. For more information, visit ndc.ky. This message was brought to you by the National Drug Council and Radio Cayman.
Business Buzz. Business Buzz with your host, Anita Khan.
Welcome back to the Business Buzz. These are our final minutes on the buzz. We take you up to 9 o'clock. In the studio this morning, we have Mrs. Nicola Williams. She's the president of the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association. And Nicola, we just spoke to Dr. Frank. Anything you want to piggyback off of his conversation?
Well, one thing too is, we need, as different countries, or every country needs to make sure that early childhood programs have some regulation and oversight for the sake of the young children. But it's, again, getting back to relationship. The Early Childhood Care and Education Unit here in the Cayman Islands has been doing some amazing work. And the nice thing about them is they have relationship with the centers. And when you have that relationship, you get trust, and you also know how best to support the center. In the same way as we want to view young children as the unique individuals they are, we want to view centers in the same way. And the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit does a lot of professional learning around the early years curriculum framework, but they also get to know the teachers and the children and the owners and directors, and so they can really tailor their support to what that particular center needs, which I think is really, and it's ongoing. Centers need support that's ongoing, professional learning that's ongoing, and it's best delivered if there's relationship there. Which has really impressed me about the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit here. So there's some great work being done already here. The ECAP, the Early Childhood Assistance Program, funding is amazing, and the Early Childhood Care and Education Unit. So there's a lot of wonderful things going on, and of course the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association.
Let's swing it back to you now. Tell us about your various programs the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association offer or is involved in.
Well, the Cayman Arts Festival is amazing. They came and did a performance at our opening church service for the Week of the Young Child, and it was absolutely beautiful. High school students came in and played for all of the preschool children, teachers, and their families. And again, I looked around at the children as these high school students were playing, and their eyes just lit up. How many children now, as a result of that one experience, are so compelled now to learn an instrument? And we know, too, from neuroscience that learning an instrument at a very young age is actually has an incredibly positive impact on the brain. And then Cayman Arts Festival is also doing lessons in the cello and the violin for very young children. It's happening in our school, and it's happening in a few other schools. Parents, it's an elective. with the schools supporting that. And, I thought at first cello and violin, and the children at my school can't wait for the teacher to come. Like, they're peering in the classroom window, hoping that their violin or cello teacher comes. So they love it. And in the instruments they use, I love that Cayman Arts Festival, they use the beautiful, and I was talking about that with their teacher. They give them the real instrument, the beauty. Sometimes we give children toys of instruments, but these children are learning it's a beautiful instrument, and they appreciate beauty. Young children, they're careful with the instrument.
I was going to say that.
They know, right? It's beautiful, and they care for it. And then, of course, our exciting partnership with Life, Literacy is for Everyone, with Juliet Austin, who's incredibly inspirational.
She's listening this morning. Good morning, Miss Austin. Miss you in studio.
She's amazing, so inspirational and so dedicated, and she's really, I'm so happy to have her on board on the early childhood emphasis, because prior to this, Life did do quite a lot of work. We partnered with Life as well, but Life also is focused as far as donating books more in the primary schools, but they have been very in partnership with us for a very long time. But this project is very tailored, and Deloitte is the sponsor, and so we're very grateful to them. And it's a partnership in that Life sort of handles the literacy side of things, and then the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association is handling the aspect of the project where, Life gives the books to families and teachers in preschools, and then the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association is sort of collaborating with Life to prepare professional learning sessions and also family engagement sessions. So it's a true collaboration.
So how closely do you work with schools across the Cayman Islands?
So we're starting with a pilot project at Precious Gems School, and we're really excited to be working with that school community, and they're very excited too. The association's had a long-standing relationship with them. Amongst
Is that
many.
A preschool?
Yes.
Preschool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mrs. Nelson is the director, and she's wonderfully engaged and dedicated professional. So she's very excited, and we're hoping that we'll collect some data to show the effectiveness, which I can't imagine it won't be, giving books to children and families.
Have you back in studio to find out how that worked out.
Yes. And then hopefully we'll roll it out to more and more preschools over time. So we're really excited about it.
Well, before I let you go, Nicola, how can we get our children to enjoy reading once again and to put down some of those electronic devices?
Well, what's the most interesting thing about that? Young children come into the world, and nature has programmed them to look around at what everyone is doing and want to learn about that. So if you're in the South Pacific and you have to, and their parents have to, ride a little boat out to catch fish and come back in, children want to do that. It depends where they are. So babies are looking around. They're seeing us adults. What are we all doing? We're all looking at our phones and our computers. So it's only natural for them that they would want. They're saying, "Wow, that's really important. I need to learn about that," because every adult I see is staring at it.
Very good
so
point.
why don't we put the phone down and stare at it and have them see us reading a book, not just to them but for ourselves.
Newspaper.
Yeah, a newspaper book, and point it out to them when you're reading the newspaper. Look at what I'm reading about. Even in our preschool, we have I get even the grocery flyers, newspapers, that's all in our reading area and in our housekeeping center and whatever. We try and surround them with print that has purpose and meaning. And as parents, if you point that out to young children, it's exciting for them and motivating. So put down the phone.
Put down the phone this weekend,
Starts with
folks.
us.
Before I let you go, we're over time. But how can folks get more details on the Cayman Islands Early Childhood Association?
Well, we have our monthly meetings. Our meeting coming up is this Saturday at 9 a.m. at St. George's Church. We also have a Facebook page with our contact information, and we would love to hear from any interested members in the community. And we're always open to partnering with any interested organizations or individuals.
Nicola, thank you so much for stopping by the studio this morning.
Thank you.
And we wish you all the best for the Early Childhood Association.
Thank you.
And we'll surely have you back in the studio. I want to say thanks to our sponsors as well, Cayman Medical Supplies and Cayman Insurance Center. Thanks to DJ Silver Fox for holding it down, to our producer, Susan Watson, and to our listeners and viewers. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you back here on The Buzz on Thursday.
Satisfaction. information is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman